Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I am a K-5 elementary music teacher in Northern Indiana, and I'm also the teacher author behind From Do Re Mi to You. So I hate to admit this, but I am less than a month away from going back to school, which means I need to start thinking about my plans for next year already. I may or may not be mentally prepared for this quite yet, but here we go. Now, I do want to give you a story. My first couple years of teaching music, I was not strategic when it came to lesson planning. I had goals and ideas, but I did not write them down. And if you don't write down goals, you're not going to accomplish them. And I thought I was being smart by having a template of my schedule. I had a page for each day with the class, the times on it, and I would just list out my activities and print it off and have it on my board. But then I would get to the next week and I would literally delete everything except for the times and the classes and write next week's lesson, which meant the next year I had no idea what I taught, what songs and activities that I did, and I was recreating the wheel. So then I got a little bit smarter and started saving them on a Google Doc, and one for each week. But it was really hard for me to look on previous years and see when I taught things and what songs that I did, because I had over 30 weeks of lesson plans. So one year I got the idea of putting everything down on a spreadsheet. And it was revolutionary to me. And this is when I wisened up. As the years have gone by, I've added on to my spreadsheet to where I have a comprehensive plan where I can see yearly goals mapped out by months, repertoire lists, and my list of activities, my lesson plans for each grade level on monthly spreadsheets. I'm no longer recreating the wheel every year, that's for sure. I have my spreadsheet available to everyone. I'll put the link down below, but let's talk about how I plan. In my very first teaching position, high school no less, we had to use a process called backwards by design or understanding by design. So instead of going to my computer and planning by thinking of, ooh, I'll teach this concept next, and then, ooh, I'll come up with an assessment for it, and then, how about I try this concept next? We didn't do that. We started planning the year thinking about May when school gets out. So before the school year begins, I ask myself, what are the desired goals for each of my grade levels? What do I want them to be able to accomplish and learn, and at what level? Now, you may be in a district that sets concepts that you're supposed to cover every year for every grade level, and that's great if you do. My district doesn't have that, which has its pros and cons. The pro is that I get to custom tailor my lessons to each group of students. I have some grade levels that just may need a little extra time and help on every concept, which means we don't get to everything that I want to cover on a normal year. And then other grades just soar through everything that I give them, and then we get to try some things that I don't always get to try. So let's go to my planning spreadsheet, and I'm going to map out my goals for third grade. So this is what the yearly concept goal page looks like. And I can see all six grade levels, and then all my different categories going across. So I'm going to plan third grade, and third grade is tricky. It's a bright group of students, but it's my largest grade. I see them as a class and a half, so about 35 kids at a time. And while they're good kids, the class size just makes it kind of cumbersome, and it's kind of stunted the rate of how fast I want to go through everything. So I'm going to play around with things a little bit. For Melody last year, they reviewed Sol Mi La. They're great with that. We did Do, we did Re, but they're going to need a lot of review with Do Re Mi, I feel. So I'm going to say review Do Re Mi. And usually third grade is when I introduce pentatonic and eventually high do. And some years I get to that, some years I don't. So for rhythm, I always teach 16th notes in third grade instead of second grade. And we did dotted half notes a little bit, but definitely want to recover that. And then do a big focus on meter and do a lot of work with understanding time signatures and learning about bar lines. Harmony. This is usually where I introduce major and minor.
Let's see, and minor. I guess. Oh, I also do a lot of rounds. We start singing in parts here, and so we do several rounds throughout the year that I like to incorporate. And I also like to do themes and variations. And I get nah, that's form. That's form. Never mind. All right. For form, we've done A, B, ABA, Rondo. We've done all that stuff. So I'm just gonna say reinforce what we know. But I always do like to do a unit on theme and oops, Asians. And one thing I've really wanted to do for a while, and I've not been great about it, is do more improvisation. Especially with, I'm going to start with Q and A improvisation because there's so much I can do with that. If I take the time incorporating that in some like body percussion warm-ups and then eventually transfer that over to the xylophones, I think that'd be good. All right, expressive qualities. I did a little bit with dynamics in the beginning of the year, but I didn't reinforce it throughout the year. That was on me. So I'm just gonna say, oops, and I was gonna say review, standard dynamics, and I'm gonna add fortissimo and pianissimo and crescendo and decrescendo. Um, Maybe tempo. I need to think about that if I want to focus on that or just focus on dynamics. All right, movement. So third grade, for the past 2 years, their music program has been a folk dance night. So we do a lot of movement and it's mostly going to focus on folk dance night. And I haven't chosen my songs yet, so I don't know um all the vocabulary that I'll use. Yeah, it just kind of varies by year, but I always do a long waist set. I always do concentric circles. I've kind of shied away from square dances just because um, I never know who's going to be there and who's not. But I'll leave it like that. And then usually I do some work with, well, we did some mirroring last year, but I'm going to add it again, mirroring, and then adding shadows for creative movement. For Orff, because I'm a trained Orff music teacher, I always introduce crossover Bordoon in the fall, crossover Bordoon. And here, they're at the stage where they can do 2 to 3 part pieces if they're simple. And for other, oh, that's kind of cut off. There you go. For other, I've been wanting to do a focus on listening to music with Squilt. And I haven't been good with this the past few years, but I want to at least once a month take 10 minutes where kids listen to music and they express what they hear through either drawing pictures or just responding with some simple prompts. And I want to look into that more. I used to have that my younger kids draw pictures, but I want to expand upon that and really have them start to use the vocabulary that we teach so they can have something to apply it to. So, yeah, this is going to be my yearly plan. Again, it's a good group of kids. It's just a really big class. So this is a lot to cover in a year. There's a lot of lessons that I can do here.
Okay, so now that I know what I want to have accomplished by the end of the school year for third grade, now I need to start planning on when I'm going to teach these concepts. Now, I'm not Kodai trained, but I love the Kodai concept of prepare, present, practice. So that means for each of these concepts, I first need to prepare them for the concept, like using them in a song or an activity without labeling the new concept. Then formally present it where they visually see the concept and I label it. And then later on, I'll practice that concept and reinforce it with other songs, activities, and composition. I've also got to be aware of things like performances, big holidays and vacations, state testing. as all those things can upend the routine in the music room. So let's look at my monthly scope and sequence for third grade.
So this is what the monthly scope and sequence looks like. I've got all six grade levels on one spreadsheet, so it's really easy to find things. You're not toggling back and forth a lot. I should also say this entire spreadsheet is completely editable, so you can change the grade levels if you teach other grades. You can change the months on the calendar if you are on a different schedule than I am. I try to make this as simple as possible for you, but I'm going to go down to third grade, and that's over here. And we're just going to plan a little bit. I'm going to start to plug in when I want to teach things. So, their program this year is the very, very beginning of April. It might actually be April 1st, but I'm going to mark off, let's see, all of April. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I'm going to color this in, and let's do green. Okay. I know March is going to be a super busy month. I am not going to teach anything new. All we're doing there is getting ready for our folk dance night and practicing those dances and maybe a fun few other activities here, but no teaching new concepts. Um, I'm also going to mark off August because I will see them all of just a couple times, and it's really just like the first day of music and just like some introductory activities. And again, June, we are out like the first few days of June. So those are my big landmarks. Now, third grade, they have two state tests. Don't get me started, but they do have a state test in March. I'm going to avoid that entirely. And then our big state standardized test for third through fifth grade starts in the middle of April and goes into the beginning of May. Luckily for me, that really does not change how often I see the students. It may change when I see the students. Um, I just know that I'm going to have to keep it a little light here. All right, so let me start plugging in some things. And again, because it's completely digital, I can easily change things later if I don't like this. So for melody, I'm definitely going to review So Mi La in September. I like to backtrack because I always have some new students that have not done solfege before, and I have some students that just weren't ready for the solfege work that we did last year. So I'll give them a second chance to learn it. And then in October, I'm going to review Do Mi So and Do Re Mi to give them a second opportunity to relearn everything. I think sometime in November, I want to introduce pentatonic, right? Pentatonic present. That might be near the end of November, but that's close to Thanksgiving. We'll see. Because I need to do something to prepare them for pentatonic, where they have all five notes in it. I'm gonna wait to introduce high do until the spring. To me, I teach it. I don't do a huge unit on it or anything, but I'm going to incorporate that into April's lesson. I'm gonna say high do, oops, do present. Okay, and I'll add the prepare later. I'm not quite so worried about that right now. All right, let's see. Oh, actually, yeah, present. All right, rhythm. They learned quarter note, paired eighth notes, and rest in first grade. They're rock solid on it. Oh, and they learned half notes and whole notes in second grade, and they are rock stars at reading rhythms. So I'm just gonna go QER and half, oops, whole review. That should be fine. 16th notes, there's a couple of fall songs that I like to do that have 16th notes in it. So I'm going to say 16th notes present. Which means I'll have to do some prep work at the end of September, but that should be fine because this they really know the quarter note, eighth note, rest, and half and whole. Notice I'm presenting a new rhythm concept in October and then a new melody concept in November. So I don't want to introduce two big new concepts in the same month, ideally. Oh, I have to do dotted half notes. Um, let's do that. They've already learned it kind of, but I want to do a deeper dive into it. So I'm going to put this in February. Dotted half present for a second time. And then afterwards, let's do some meter work. We've already talked about meter, they've seen time signatures, but I want them to really kind of do a deep dive into it. Meter present. Okay. So I got two presents here, but meter is pretty, to me, that's pretty simple. Okay, so harmony. Again, this is where I talk about major and minor. So this is a good place to do in October, especially with Halloween and some of the spooky music out there. So I'm going to say present major, minor. And we'll do that with some of the listening that we do. So I'll kind of like prepare it beforehand. And then rounds, I'll have to look into that. Let's see. I'm going to put rounds, starting rounds in November. I need to look through my repertoire and see what I have that will work for November. Okay, so for form, one of my big goals was not only just reinforce everything that we've done, but do some question and answer improvisation. So I'm actually going to start that in September. So I'm going to say Q and A improv, but I'm going to write BP for body percussion. And I think that's a really good place to start because it is low pressure, and pretty simple and straightforward. And then I'm going to keep working on that, but then introduce Q&A, improv on xylophones in April because then I like to do some mallet madness. And so we spend a lot of times on xylophones, which I can surprisingly get away with this during state testing because my room is actually really quiet. So really isn't an issue if my door is closed. So anyways, we'll do that on xylophones come April. Expressive qualities, I want to review what we did come September. So I'm going to say review dynamics, just the ones that we've done before. Crescendo and decrescendo. I could do something with the song Bolero. That would be good. Incorporating the squilt and talking about crescendos and decrescendos. And then I'm trying to think what I can add that in. But then there's also But then there's also something that I have on TPT that goes through those two concepts and it's snow theme. So maybe I will add that in December. Crush and day crush. And I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Movement. This is going to be um all year, but I'm just gonna actually put here folk. Oops, that's creative movement or expressive qualities. Here we go. Folk dance night. And what I'll do is in January I'll teach folk dances and I'll teach it here as well. But I have not chosen my dances yet, but usually what I try to do is teach two of them in the fall semester. Maybe one during October during Hispanic Heritage Month, one in December. We've done a couple songs from Israel before, and then the rest I teach when we get back from break. So I don't want to put the vocabulary down there until I know which dances I'm doing. All right, and then for ORF, I always do an activity with crossover board June in October with the book Shake Them Halloween Bones. And then we'll practice it throughout the year. When we get to April, when we get back from spring break, we will do a lot with Mallet Madness. Okay, and then Squilt. I'm just gonna write Squilt each month. And maybe I need to sit down and make a list of songs that I want to do. And I want to try to like really make it seasonal. So maybe September's song it or October song is, oh yeah, let's have September song be related to Hispanic Heritage Month. October can be related to Halloween or something kind of spooky. December can be maybe a Sleigh Ride by Leroy Anderson. Maybe January can be Snow is Falling. There's ways to make it seasonal, and I think that will work. I just need to choose a list of music. So that is how I plan my monthly goals. So by the end of the year, I'm not thinking, oh, I forgot to teach that concept. Oh, I never planned for that one either. I have a basic plan in mind. Now, I can easily change things around. As I start teaching, I might realize that this is not going to work, and I can just move things super simply.
Okay, that was a lot, but now I have a game plan. And when I go to plan every week, I have those end goals laid out, and that will help keep me on track so I don't get stuck in ruts and forget about the goals. So when I start lesson planning for the upcoming week, I usually start it the Wednesday before. I see my students twice a week. So once I get to the end of Wednesday, I've seen about half of my classes already twice. So I have a good understanding as to where each grade level will be. So I have a good idea as to what I can do for next week. Looking at my spreadsheet, I can see all the grade levels for almost the entire month, depending on my monitor size. I've got a column for each grade level, and then about every 8 rows or so, I've got a new week listed out with the dates. And so when I go to plan, I literally just list out the songs and activities that I want to do. And because I have a good routine with most of my classes of doing kind of the same order, it's really just plugging each song into the spreadsheet. Because it's digital, I can hyperlink anything that I need to for easy access. So if I find a rhythm play along that I like, I can hyperlink it in there. And then next year, when I go back and review last year's plan, I can see that they already did that rhythm play along. Or vice versa. Let's say it's July and I find a really good song for Thanksgiving. I don't want to have to mentally store that in my brain and hope that I remember it come November, because let's face it, I'm not going to remember it. But because I have this planning spreadsheet and I've got a page for each month with all the weeks already set up, I can go ahead and put that in November's lessons with a hyperlink there. So when I start planning for November, I can see, oh, there's that new Thanksgiving song that I wanted to try. So let's take a look at my spreadsheet, and I'm just gonna plan out a sample third grade lesson.
So each month has its own sheet. I've got the month up here. Again, this is editable, so you can change anything on here. Here I got the month. I've got holidays. This is US based, but again, you can change this. And then I have a spot for important school dates. So I don't think there's really anything important that I need to know. Oh, I will need to know auditions for the fall musical. That will be important for me. I've got to check those dates. Then I have a section for each grade level, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, and fifth over here. And then I have a spot for each week. So as I go to plan, I can just plop things in here. So let me give you an example. So for third grade, I'm going to do second week of September. We always do a solfege activity, and I'm just going to leave it there, and a rhythm activity. And these are just quick play alongs or games that we do for like 5 minutes max to just review our literacy skills. So I could look for a rhythm play along, and once I find that play along that I want to use, I can just highlight the box and add the link, whatever that link is, and then it's going to be blue. And then I have that link for whenever I make my slides. Then I could write down other activities that I'm doing. So maybe I'm going to review a folk dance. Maybe we'll kind of rest our bodies and I'll introduce a story that we'll take to the xylophones, and then maybe we'll work on a new song that will go with the xylophones. So this is just an example. I'm not including actual songs and activities in this one, but this shows you what you can do with it. And again, if you find a song that you like and you have a way of hyperlinking it, or you can even hyperlink slideshows that you have if they're in your Google Drive and you always have access to them. So I can go ahead and think, oh, there's always this song that I do in fourth grade to teach low law. And I'm going to go ahead into November and I'm going to go to fourth grade and I'm going to hyperlink it around Thanksgiving. So maybe I introduce it this week so we can play the game this week because we're out of school for half the week here. So let me show you a quick example as to what I did on last year's slideshow. Okay, so this is what last year's spreadsheet looked like. The colors are a little bit different, but the layout is the same. So I literally just listed all the activities that we did. I didn't hyperlink them because I already had a lot of the slides made already on my slideshows that I will make a video about that another day. But here I had a music play video linked. Here I have a rhythm play along. Oh, yeah, that's on music play as well. And so I can hyperlink those so I know what I did. I can make little notes for myself, like here for vocal exploration. First grade was doing the song doobie doobie, which is on music play. And I said, find swing video because the song is swing music and they don't know what swing dancing looks like. So I can make notes for myself. I can cross things out. Maybe I had it planned for this week and we didn't get to it. So I can just cross it out or make a note. Maybe we only started the song. So when I go to plan for the following week, I already have notes right there on my slideshow.
I find this spreadsheet has been completely revolutionary for me when it comes to lesson planning. I used to be in the habit in the beginning of lesson planning every night, opening up that Word document and typing the next day's worth of lessons out. It was not efficient with my time and it was quite cumbersome and not helpful for the next year. This spreadsheet I have made available to you for free and I will leave a link down below. And the nice thing about this spreadsheet is that once you have it, I'm going to update it every year. And if you are on my email list, I will send you the new copy every July or so. So you have it for the next year. So if you would like that, I've got it down below. And I hope you are having a fabulous summer break. And if you are about ready to start school, happy musicking.